Hi, I'm Rick Kuntz, and welcome to my Microsoft Excel crash course. The purpose of this video is to create a very quick course in Excel, and I'm doing this because some of you may not have used Excel very much, and so in this course we're going to use Excel a lot. And if you've never used it, you might just need an overview of what Excel is and how to use it. And then if you have used it in the past but you haven't used it for a while, this might be a good refresher. If you're comfortable with Excel, then you really don't need to watch this because this is all elementary beginning Excel concepts. Let's get started. So in this video, we're going to build a spreadsheet that'll be kind of like an invoice. So I made up a company called Tammy's Treats. Know a lovely person whose name is Tammy and who makes wonderful cookies, and so I just thought it would be cool if she had a company and she made cookies and sold them. She doesn't at this time, but they sure are yummy. Here's a sample invoice, and we're going to build this invoice and then have it automatically calculate if we change like the number of dozens of sugar cookies or the price or whatever. So this is what we're going to work toward, and I've set this up so you can see the formulas here in this picture as opposed to seeing the values that will result from those formulas, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. When you first open Excel, you're going to see a screen that looks a lot like what's here, and the first thing I want to do is just walk through each of the sections of this screen and talk about what they do. So along the very top, and on my screen here it's in green, you have a row of tabs, and as you click on these tabs, it provides you with different menus that you can work from. And the menus are all showing up here, and this section is called the ribbon. So we have our tab bar, which gives us different tabs that we can click on, and then the ribbon is a whole bunch of icons that you can click on that do different things inside of Excel. The ribbon is broken into sections. So here we have like the font section, the alignment section, the number section. If I change tabs, then my ribbon will change to reflect the items that are under that tab. Underneath the ribbon, we have the formula bar. And in the formula bar, there are two things. First of all, we have the name box, and the name box allows us to do some navigation things and to name ranges. And then in the formula bar, we can type directly into the formula bar and it'll go into a cell, or you can type directly into a cell. But the formula bar lets you see what's inside a cell when you're working on it. And then underneath the formula bar, you have your worksheet. And this can be really intimidating, but you've got like a grid. And then inside the grid is a bunch of little boxes. And that's where all the magic happens. So that's where we're going to enter numbers and text and formulas. And then Excel, which is an amazing tool, will do all of the heavy lifting for us and do like all the math. Underneath that, you have another bar here, and this bar is going to let you can have multiple worksheets. And at this point we only need one for this video, but you'll be able to use this bar to switch back and forth between the worksheets. And then you have a scroll bar here that lets you scroll as the worksheet grows. You can scroll back and forth. Under that you have your status bar, and there are some choices down here as well. So that's the basic structure of what we're looking at when we're on the page. Let's talk about cells and navigation. So when we get into the worksheet area, the worksheet is divided by this grid, which the first time you walk into a spreadsheet is kind of scary looking and intimidating, but once you've used a spreadsheet for a while, it's not intimidating at all. So this grid is actually just a whole bunch of little boxes that we call cells, and cells are used to hold information, and each cell has a name. The name of the cell is the column letter and then the row number. So it's kind of like playing Battleship if you ever played that as a child. So if I click on a cell, you'll notice that this green box goes wherever I clicked. The green box is called a cell pointer, and the cell pointer tells me which cell is the active cell or the one that I have clicked on. This is the cell that I'm using right now. The cell name will show up in the name box on the formula bar, and it's comprised of the column letter and the row number. So right now we're on C3. If I move one cell to the right, I'll be on D3. There it is in the name box. If I go down one, I'll be on D4. You have different ways to navigate. One is you can just take your mouse and click on a cell. So here I'm clicking on B3, and there it is, I'm on B3. I can also use my arrow keys on my keyboard. So there I've moved to B2, and I can hit arrow keys multiple times. Now I'm on E5. In addition, you can go to the name box. You can click there and you can type a cell address. So here I'm going to go to G7, and then when I hit enter, it'll jump me to that address. On your keyboard, you also have page up and page down, which allow you to move multiple rows at a time, kind of like a page at a time. So that was page down that I hit. Here's page up, brings me back. You can use the end key and then point in an arrow. So if I do end, and now I'm tapping the down arrow, and that'll take me to the very bottom of the spreadsheet. Notice that my spreadsheet has a lot of rows. 1,048,576 rows. That's a lot of rows. If I want to go straight home, I can hold down my control key, and then while I'm holding down control, or on the Mac that would be command, then hit your home key, and that'll take you directly back to A1. What do I do with cells? So I have cells. I've got literally millions of cells here. What do I do with these cells? Well, you can put multiple things into a cell. The first thing we're going to put into a cell is some text so that you can see how to enter text into a cell and how to edit and delete that text. So if I wanted to put text into cell A1, so let's go to cell A1, and I can get there either by clicking on A1 or Control Home will always take you back to A1. And then whatever you type into a cell, here I'm going to type in hello world, and then I'm going to hit my enter key. And notice that the words hello world are now in that cell. If I click on the cell, whatever the contents of the cell are will show up in your formula bar. They also show up in the cell. And so entering text is really important. You'll use text to make column headings, row headings, and sometimes you'll actually store text items into worksheet cells. Something interesting happened here. Notice that my text is longer than column A, so it's kind of sticking out past the cell. If I were to type more into cell B1, then watch what happens. So I'm just going to put in the word more because I'm not very creative. But now, hello world is actually hello WOR. Is it holding the whole hello world? And the answer is yes. If I look at my formula bar, I can see that the full text is here. So what is being displayed in A1 is just the width of that column. And you can change column widths and row heights, and you can do that a couple of ways, but the easiest way is to take your cursor and move up between the two columns that you're working with. So here I'm going to go to the right end of column A, and notice that my cursor changes to a vertical bar with arrows pointing in either direction. I can now hold down my mouse button and drag the width of that column, and you can see that right above it it's telling me what that width is. So I can change column widths just by dragging. I'm going to make it narrower instead of wider. Oops. You can also double click when you have that symbol, and that will automatically make your column width show what it needs to display the text that's in that cell. So that's kind of cool. What if I need to change some text? Let's go into Hello World and change that text, because actually what we need here is Tammy's Treats. So I can do a couple of things. One, if I just want to completely replace text, I can just click on the cell and start typing hello there, and now I've changed it when I hit enter. Another thing I can do is double click on the cell, and when I double click on the cell, I'm now inside the cell editing the text itself. You can see I have a little vertical flashing bar. It's kind of like I'm in a miniature copy of Microsoft Word inside the cell, and I can type text and edit there. How are you? So now I've changed the text that's in that cell. Another way to edit your cell text is to go to your formula bar, click on it, and then you can do things like select text. Hello, I am fine. And you can see that the text is changed in the cell. So I can type in the formula bar, I can type directly in the cell. If you want to delete text, you can just click on the cell where the text is, and then hit your delete key, and the text will go away. So now those cells are empty again. Let's start making our spreadsheet. So I'm going to start with our heading. So this is Tammy's Treats. And this is going to look a little bit like an invoice. Let's have a ship to address. So ship to, enter. And again, I'm just going to the cell that I want to type in. And then I'm typing. And then when I'm done typing, I'm going to hit enter. So let's send these treats to me. And my fake address. Test City, Indiana, 45678. Alright, so I've typed that information in, and you just go to the cell, start typing, and then when you're done, you can hit enter. You can also hit your down arrow, and the down arrow will work kind of like enter in that it'll say, oh, you're done typing, store the stuff in your cell, and then move on to the next cell. Let's create an item description. We'll do quantity / dozens. We'll have a price and a total. And notice that item description is a little small, so I can come up here and double click, and it made my column wider. Let's do that for quantity and quantity dozens, price total. That looks good. How about some yummy products to ship? So I'm going to type in iced sugar cookies, peanut butter clusters, chocolate walnut fudge, and some bird's nest cookies. And again, this column is now too narrow again, and I'll just go ahead and double click. I could also just grab it and widen it, and I'm going to make it 25-ish wide. And then under that, I just need subtotal, if I could spell, tax, shipping, and total due. And there is my invoice structure. So that's it for part 1 of this video. In part 2, we'll talk about how to enter numbers and formulas into cells.